Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. We always find the most fascinating stuff to unpack together, and today's no exception. We're diving into a world that's totally different from anything we've ever explored before. Just picture it. An endless space filled with floating colored dots and this mysterious liquid that's pulling some of them down.
Intrigued.
I know I was when I first read about it.
Yeah, and what really grabs you right away is this pink dot. She's the main character, and she develops this awareness, the ability to think and question. And get this, she's not just going to drift towards that liquid like all the other dots.
It's almost as if she woke up inside this system, right?
Yeah.
And she's not so sure she wants to play along.
Yeah, are we really supposed to just go with the flow all the time?
And it makes you think, doesn't it? Who hasn't felt that at some point?
Yeah.
That urge to question the rules, the expectations, the way things are just supposed to be.
Exactly. And the way our source material describes her journey, it's so vivid. This pink dot, she actually moves away from the liquid. And from all those other dots, she needs to understand what's going on. It's almost like she's rejecting this predetermined fate.
So let's talk about this liquid. What is it exactly? And what happens to the dots that get pulled in?
Okay, so according to the source material, this liquid is like a transporter. It takes the dots to these physical bodies and gives them consciousness of mind, even rights and duties.
Hold on a second. That's a big jump, isn't it?
That's a lot to take in.
Going from just a floating dot to a physical being with responsibilities and all that stuff, it makes you wonder, what are these rights and duties anyway? How can a dot even understand those concepts?
You're right about that. And our source material doesn't really define them, but it hints that these rights and duties, they just come with the territory. They're part of the physical world.
So it's like being born into a whole new level of existence.
Exactly, with all the complexities that come with it.
With all the complexities, yeah. And a whole set of rules that maybe you don't even know about.
It's like by entering that realm, you automatically take on these obligations, certain expectations, whether you're aware of them or not. It's like existence itself comes with this contract.
It's a thought-provoking idea. We're just born into this system of rules and expectations, and we don't even question where they came from or why they exist.
Exactly. And this leads us to another important character. It's this being of pure white light, almost like a guardian angel.
Okay.
And this being explains the liquid's purpose to our pink dot. But even after hearing this explanation, she's still hesitant.
It's like she's saying, hold on a minute, I need to think about this. I'm not ready to sign on the dotted line just yet.
Exactly.
Which I totally get. We've all had those moments, right? Where we need to pause and think before making a big decision.
And what's really interesting is that the pink dot doesn't just avoid the liquid. She actually ventures out further into this vast emptiness, pushing the boundaries of her reality. And that's where she encounters something really scary. The source material calls it a wall of nothingness.
Okay, the wall of nothingness. What did it say about that?
It described it as this wall of cold, of absolute emptiness, almost like a void, and the pink dot almost gets destroyed by it. Her light flickers and she has to retreat. It's like a warning about the dangers of straying too far from what you know, pushing yourself beyond your limits.
Makes you think about those times when we try to step outside our comfort zone too much and we hit a wall, mentally or emotionally.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder that growth happens in stages. Sometimes we need to take a step back before we can leap forward.
I agree. It's all about finding that balance between exploring the unknown and respecting your own boundaries.
So she pushes the boundaries, hits this wall of nothingness, and then what?
Well, she eventually goes back to the area with the liquid, and her reaction is pretty surprising.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Tell me more about that. What happened?
She describes the liquid as feeling like a drug. It gives her this pleasurable, addictive sensation. And that's when she really starts to question why the other dots are so willing to be pulled in. Is it just about getting a physical body, or is there something more going on here?
This adds a whole new layer to the story, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's not just a physical transformation anymore.
Right.
It's about the pull of comfort.
Yeah.
The pleasure. Maybe even a way to escape. It makes you think about what we crave in our own lives.
Yeah.
What are the things we're drawn to, even if we know they might not be good for us in the long run?
It's a great point. And it gets even more interesting because there are these hints about a higher power being involved. The source material mentions a creator who's responsible for this entire world.
Okay.
So it's like there's this underlying suggestion that the dot's existence has a deeper meaning, a purpose that goes beyond just having a physical body.
So we've got this world of dots, this mysterious liquid that's almost addictive, a creator figure, and this pink dot who's questioning everything. It's a lot to take in, but I'm hooked already. Now, I know we have more to cover, but before we move on, let's talk about the other dots for a minute. What can you tell us about them?
Okay, so the source material describes different kinds of dots, each with its own meaning. You've got the red and orange dots. They're driven by pure instinct, like moths to a flame. And then there are green dots. They're completely passive, just drifting along wherever the current takes them.
So it's like a spectrum of awareness, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Some dots just going through the motions, while others are starting to wake up and question what's real.
exactly.
And where's our pink dot fit into all of this?
She's definitely on the more aware end of the spectrum, along with the blue dots. They seem to be capable of thought and choice.
Okay.
But even among those, the pink dot is becoming more and more isolated in her defiance. She's frustrated that the other dots just accept their fate without question.
Does she try to talk to them?
Yeah.
To like warn them or something?
Yeah. She tries, but it doesn't really work. It's like they're speaking different languages.
I've totally felt like that before, you know? Like you're trying to explain something important to someone,
Yeah.
but they just don't get it. It can be so frustrating.
I know what you mean. It highlights the challenge of communicating across different levels of consciousness.
Right.
The pink dot, with her growing self-awareness, is experiencing a reality that the other dots, especially those red and orange ones, they just can't grasp.
Okay, so we've talked about the liquid's path. What about the path represented by this new light? We know it's an alternative, but the source material is pretty vague on the details. It's almost like it's leaving things open to interpretation on purpose.
Yeah, and I think that vagueness is intentional. It's supposed to make us curious, to make us think about possibilities that are beyond what we can even imagine right now.
Like, what if there are ways of existing that we haven't even thought of?
Exactly.
That's a mind-blowing concept.
Yeah.
But wouldn't that be kind of terrifying, too? To step into something completely unknown with no guarantees?
Possibly. But think about it. Fear usually comes from not knowing. And for the pink dot who's always questioning things, this unknown path might be more appealing than scary.
Yeah.
It's a chance to break free from the limits she's seen.
So it's not really about fear. It's about choice.
Exactly.
It's like saying, I'd rather take a risk and create my own destiny than just follow the crowd.
It's about having the courage to make your own choices, even when they're different from what everyone else is doing.
I love that. So she chooses this new light, this path less traveled. That's a powerful statement.
And that choice speaks volumes. It shows how much courage it takes to break free from what's familiar, to embrace uncertainty in the pursuit of something more true to yourself.
It's inspiring, even if it's a little scary to think about doing that in our own lives.
And that's what makes this deep dive so powerful. It's an invitation to question our own assumptions, to explore what might be out there beyond what we currently understand. What if we're capable of so much more than we realize?
It's like we're being challenged to look beyond what's right in front of us.
Yeah.
To consider all the possibilities that exist within us and around us. It's a call to adventure, isn't it?
It is. And while we don't know exactly where that new light takes the pink dot, the source material leaves us with an important message. There's always something new to discover, always another path to explore, if we're brave enough to take that leap of faith.
So what does all this mean for us here in our own world, facing our own choices?
Yeah.
How do we take these abstract concepts and make them real in our everyday lives?
Welcome back to our deep dive. It's like we're right on the edge of something big here.
I know, right? Our pink dot, she's got this major decision to make.
She does. The familiar pull of the liquid with the promise of physical existence versus this completely unknown path represented by that second light.
It's a real cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And it makes me think about how often we find ourselves in similar situations. You know, that pull between what's comfortable and familiar and the allure of the unknown?
It's so true. And what's fascinating is that the source material doesn't make it seem like there's a right or wrong choice. It's more about understanding each path, the possible consequences, the different kinds of existence they might offer.
Okay, so let's break that down a bit. Let's start with a liquid. We know it leads to a physical body.
Yeah.
What else do we know about that kind of existence? What are the downsides?
Well, it's definitely not all sunshine and roses. Remember that being of darkness, the purple ball with the shadowy wings.
Oh, yeah.
He hinted that the physical world is full of hardship, heartbreak, even a loss of that pure awareness she has now.
Right. And the white light being mentioned something about some humans being born with challenges. It's like the darkness can taint things.
Yeah.
It's like that perfect picture of getting a physical body is suddenly not so perfect anymore.
Exactly. And it seems like our pink dot, with her heightened awareness, she's starting to pick up on this. She sees the other dots rushing towards the liquid, and it's like they're blind to the potential problems. It's almost as if she sees something they don't, and that knowledge is weighing on her.
She tries to warn them, right? But they don't listen.
It's like they're speaking completely different languages.
You know? It's like when you try to explain something to someone and they just don't get it no matter how hard you try.
Exactly. And it really shows how hard it is to communicate across different levels of awareness. The pink dot, with her self-awareness, she's experiencing a reality that those other dots, especially the red and orange ones, they just can't comprehend.
So that's the liquid path.
Yeah.
What about this new light? We know it's a different way, but the source material is really vague about what it actually means.
And I think that's done on purpose, you know?
Yeah.
It's meant to spark our curiosity, to make us think about other ways of existing, ways that we can't even wrap our heads around right now.
So there could be ways of being that we haven't even imagined.
Exactly. What if there's a whole universe of possibilities out there?
It's mind-blowing, but also a little scary, right? To step into something completely unknown with no guarantees.
Maybe. But remember, fear usually comes from what we don't know. And for our pink dot who's always questioning everything, this new path might be more exciting than frightening. It's a chance to break free from the limits she's always known.
It's like she's saying, I'm not going to let fear control me. I'm going to explore what's possible.
It's about choosing freedom over fear, and that takes real courage.
So she chooses the new light, the path less traveled.
Wow. And that choice is powerful. It shows how much strength it takes to break away from what's familiar, to embrace the unknown in search of something more authentic.
You know, it's inspiring. It makes you think about what choices we're making in our own lives. Are we playing it safe, or are we daring to explore what else is out there?
It's a good question. And that's what this deep dive is all about. It's about pushing us to think outside the box, to imagine what might be beyond our current understanding.
What if we're capable of so much more than we realize?
Exactly. And even though we don't know where that new light leads our pink dot, the source material leaves us with a powerful message. There's always more to discover, always another path to explore, if we're willing to take that leap of faith.
So what does it all mean for us? How do we take these abstract ideas and apply them to our own lives, our own choices? It's really sticking with me, you know? That final scene, the pink dot choosing that new light and heading off into the unknown, it's such a powerful image of breaking free and creating your own path.
You know what I find really interesting? Her choice. It's not presented as this act of rebellion, like she's not trying to defy the system or prove anything.
Right.
It's more about her aligning with something deeper, you know? Like a truth that guides her towards something more fulfilling.
And isn't that what we all want deep down? That sense of purpose, of living a life that's truly ours and reflects what we believe in.
I think so. And what's fascinating is that the source material doesn't tell us exactly what that something more is.
Right.
You know, it leaves it open to interpretation. It makes us think about our own beliefs and what we hope for.
It's like the story is giving us a framework, a set of possibilities, and saying, okay, now it's your turn. What resonates with you? Fill in the blanks with your own understanding.
Yeah, exactly. It's not about just listening. It's about really engaging with the ideas.
So if we step back and look at the big picture, what are some of the key things we can take away from the pink dot's journey? What can we learn from her, even though her story takes place in this abstract world?
One of the most important lessons, I think, is the power of questioning. The pink dot's whole journey is driven by her curiosity, her refusal to just accept things as they are. And that's what ultimately leads her to freedom.
She's like a reminder to never stop asking why, to challenge what we think we know, to look at things from different angles, and most importantly, to trust our own intuition, even when it takes us off the well-worn path.
That's it, exactly. And another key takeaway is that there's always more to discover than what we see on the surface. You know, at first the pink dot's world seems pretty simple, but as she explores, she finds all this hidden depth layers of complexity that challenge her whole understanding of reality.
Like that saying, the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know.
Exactly. And that's something we can all relate to no matter who we are or what we believe. There's always more to learn, more to discover if we're open to it.
And being open to new things, to the unknown. That might be the most important lesson of all.
Because it's in the unknown where we find the potential for growth, for change, for finding something truly amazing. It's where we break free from the limits we put on ourselves.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I'm curious what stood out to you the most? What resonated with you personally? What are you still thinking about?
You know what really strikes me is the pink dot's courage. Her willingness to leave behind what she knows, to face the unknown with a sense of wonder and determination, even when it means facing that void, that wall of nothingness.
Yeah.
It reminds us that we all have that strength inside of us to embrace the unknown and create our own unique paths.
That's beautifully said. And for me, it's the reminder that life's not about finding all the answers or reaching some final destination. It's about the journey, the constant exploration, the questioning, the never-ending process of learning and growing. And who knows what incredible things we'll find along the way.
Now, before we go, I want to leave you with one last thought. If you were the pink dot facing that choice between the familiar pull of the liquid and that mysterious light, which path would you choose? What does your choice tell you about yourself and what you truly want?
What a great question. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below. And if this deep dive has piqued your curiosity, we encourage you to check out the original story and explore this world of dots and destinies for yourself. Until next time, keep asking questions, keep exploring, and keep shining your own unique light.